Click the bell icon to get latest videos from Ekeeda.
Hello friends, now that we have learned Introduction to Accounts, Objective of Accountancy, now we'll be going through importance and utility of accountancy. Why all these process was prepared, why all this process was formed, and why do we follow that? What is the necessity? Why it is so important? What will be beneficial? All these things will be classified in this video. Now, when we go ahead, let me give you a situation. Supposingly, we have Mr. A. Mr. A has recently won a lottery of 1 crore. He has to go ahead and ensure that he doubles his amount. How does he do that? He thought of a brilliant plan. He went ahead and approached his chartered accountant. His chartered accountant informed him that he can invest his money into shares, into market for a specific period of time, and then he might just find his amount to get doubled. And Mr. A was very fascinated about it. But the chartered accountant did warn him, before you invest, do a lot of research on the companies that you want to invest into. Now Mr. A was a smart guy. What he did was, he just went through all the audited reports of all the companies where he was interested to invest his fund into. The basic details what he looked after was profit and loss in the balance sheet. So now he has certain details with him. We'll see what details he has. Mr. A sought for two things, profit and loss account, balance sheet. The first thing that he sought for was profit and loss account to ensure that the company that he is investing into, he has some knowledge about which company it is, what kind of dealing it does, how is the profit and loss ascertained for the company, what are the expenses that it goes through, what is the kind of amount that he has invested into. And the second thing that he went for is the balance sheet to see what is the value of the assets they hold, what is the liability that they hold. So whether if he's investing that amount into certain company, if that asset bearing company has more of liabilities, he will eventually risk his amount and not earn much money, or might just lose all the money that he's supposed to invest. So the importance of all these books that he holds of these companies will guide him in a better decision making. So the first thing, or the first importance of having accountancy and books of accounts, is to ensure that you do good decision making. So all these books of accounts guide you in making decisions which are fruitful for your investments. So Mr. A, who made a good decision after looking after the balance sheets and profit and loss of the interested companies, he went ahead and approached one of the companies and invested his funds into one specific company that he was more interested into. So that's what funded him, and that's what gave him a good decision of investing his amount into a specific company. Now, if supposingly he didn't have these books of accounts for his reference, it would have been very difficult for Mr. A to go ahead and invest the amount. So what have we learned from this thing is, to ensure a good decision making, you need to have reference material, which will be the books of accounts which are shared to the users by the company. The second importance of anything that we refer to in this chapter will be the books of accounts. Now, how this book of account, or how these reports which are shared to the users, makes them more important to any specific person who wants to invest into. One is decision making, second is comparing. If Mr. A has to invest in 2 or 3 companies, or if he has 2 or 3 companies as option, he won't invest all the amount in all these companies. He might diversify his investment into 3 different companies, or he might just invest the amount into one single company. But for him to go through this process, he has to compare the reports of all 3 companies, so that it will be easy for him to understand which company will give him better benefit. So higher the rate of return of any company, that is something Mr. A will opt for. So the first option was decision making, the second option will be comparing. Prediction is the third option or the third importance of any books of accounts that are being shared to the users. Now, users go ahead, look after the balance sheet and see if that is a profit-making company. You would really predetermine whether this specific company will make profit in near future or not. So that's known as prediction. When you have a certain report of any company, and if you understand that specific report, after knowing all the steps of the accountancy which we have learned earlier, that's when you will be able to know whether this specific company will be making profits in near future or will be suffering loss. According to that, you can decide whether you need to invest that amount into specific transactions or specific company with anything that you're interested into. The next part that we'll be going through is calculation of profit and maintenance of books of accounts. So when it comes to introduction to accounts and the importance and objective of it, calculation of profit is very important for any company because that will guide them to lead more investments in their company. The higher the profit, that's when the specific investors will go ahead and fund the company, which will be very useful for the companies to expand themselves. And if they've maintained the record very well, that's when the profit will be properly recorded, and that's when the investor will go ahead and have faith in the company. That's when the funding will be more, and that will help the company to expand in near future. The last part of this would be relevance and reliability. Whether you can really rely on the reports that are being shared to you? Yes, you can, because all these reports are audited by a specific chartered accountant who has the authority to do that. If the audited reports are shared to you, they are genuine and they are shared by the firm itself. So if you have that relevance over such reports, you can go ahead and definitely invest the amount that you wish to in certain companies. Now, once you invest into these companies, you will have certain surety. That's when you'll be able to understand by understanding the reports that are being shared to you. So how relevant they are and how reliable they are will determine how much investment you can make. So if they're not reliable, not relevant to your companies or not relevant to your investment pattern, you don't need to go ahead and invest the amount. But however, if they're relevant to your accounting transactions, which you have been doing with other companies, you can definitely opt for it. Now, all these transactions which have been recorded, classified and summarized in books of accounts, which have been audited by a chartered accountant and gone ahead and shared to the users, both internal and external. And after that, the decision is left upon you whether you need to invest that amount as a capital funding for such companies. That will decide whether the company will have appropriate funds to expand their growth, or will they have less funds as compared to the relevance and the reliability of the transactions or the systems or the books of records that are being shared to the users. So all these points, decision making, comparing, prediction, calculation and maintenance of records, relevance and reliability, are the importance and utilities that can be used for accounting transactions. So all these transactions that you have learned, that is decision making, comparing, prediction, calculation and maintenance, relevance and reliability, are certain things that will help any investor to go ahead and make investment in any of the capital funding firm that they wish to. Thank you for watching the video. Keep subscribing to Ekeeda.